Namaste, sir.
Namaste, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Very good.
A very warm welcome to everyone for another session of Quest interviews. Today we have with us Professor Ramakrishna Hosur ji joining us from Mumbai. Before we proceed, let me begin with a prayer. Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Surya Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तां भक्तानाम् एकदन्तामुपास्महे सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदाविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम. Very warm welcome to you, sir. Thank you for making time for this interview session.
Thank you.
Viewers, before we start with the interview, just a brief introduction. Professor Ramakrishna Hosur ji is a scientist of international repute, and he has worked as he has worked at TIFR Mumbai from 1978 to 2018, and he was also director of UM-DAE from 2009 to 2017. He is an author of more than 250 research articles and 4 books. His scientific work has been well recognized with several awards, including the very renowned Padmashri by the President of India in 2014. He is also a fellow of many national and international science academies, and he has a very deep interest in Indian philosophy and spirituality. We are very fortunate to have you with us, sir. Thank you again for making time. Let me begin with the opening question, which is about your life journey, especially your spiritual journey. How did you develop your interest in spirituality? Who were your early influencers, and whom do you consider as your gurus in your life? So, just a bit about your background, especially your spiritual journey. Please share with our audience.
Yeah, first of all, let me thank you, Nitinji, for inviting me to this platform, Indika Moksha. And I was very happy to see the various activities which you are doing. And I'm very pleased to be participating in this session. I started my education, I belong to Karnataka. So I started my schooling in Dharwad, in Karnataka University. Until BSc, I was in Dharwad. Then I went to, during that time itself, actually, my grandfather introduced me to the realm of philosophy and spirituality. We used to learn, our family has a big tradition of religion and philosophy. My grandfather himself, the Sri R.S. Panchamukhi, Vidyaratna R.S. Panchamukhi, he was a great Sanskrit scholar. He has written nearly 150 books, and he was recognized by the President of India for his contribution to philosophy, religion, Indology, and things like that. He also started a society institution called as Karnataka Historical Research Society in Dharwad. So we had a culture of tradition and spirituality inside in our family. And at the same time, we also pursued our careers in profession. Different people pursued in different ways. And I took the path of science, the basic science. And my uncles, actually, they were in economics and things like that. And they also reached very great heights in their careers. And so after my BSc in Dharwad, I went to IIT Bombay for my master's in chemistry. And then I finished PhD from Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, which was affiliated to Mumbai University then. And that was also in chemistry. And I used to work on a particular technique called nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, which everybody knows today as in hospitals, MRI is basically nothing but NMR. And following my PhD, I went for a postdoctoral research in Zurich at ETH. I worked with two eminent scientists there, Professor Kurt Wittrich and Professor Richard Ernst, both of whom got Nobel Prizes later. One of them got a Nobel Prize in 1991, Richard Ernst, and then Kurt Wittrich got the Nobel Prize in 2002, both in chemistry, for working with structures of molecules, biomolecules, structure-function relationships at the atomic level. So, and then I came back to TIFR as a faculty in 1978 at 81 to 83. I was in Zurich and I came back to TIFR in that period. And then I continued in TIFR ever since. I retired in 2018 as senior professor, and all my research focused on applications of NMR, chemistry, biology, integration of biology, chemistry, and so on. So that was the scientific career. And while I was in Dharwad, and also actually my grandfather used to teach us the various philosophical texts like Pramana Lakshana, Pramana Paddhati, various kinds of Khandanatrayas, and basically we belong to the Madhva community. And that was the lineage. Apparently we belong to the Raghavendra Swami lineage itself. It goes all the way up to that. So we are great followers of Madhva philosophy and Sri Raghavendra Swami. Mantralayam, everybody knows Mantralayam and Raghavendra Swami, which is a very famous place. And I used to go there very regularly. And we continue to read. Well, actually, when I took up the science profession, there was a break in my career with regard to the spirituality. And however, I used to listen to some videos and YouTubes and try to keep my interest alive. And once again, after I retired, then I continued my study. And of course, as I realized that okay, there is so much to study. There is so much to study. I know what I saw is very, 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 very little. So this is something which we acknowledge and but continue to learn more and more. And I also realized during my life that spirituality has a big role to play in your life, not only in a particular profession, in life, in science as well. There is a big role to play. There is a lot of confusion among the scientists as to whether spirituality has any role to play at all. But we personally realize that this has a big role to play, and this confusion must be removed and to bring the two things together. And that motivated me to write this book. And so I wrote this book, When Science Meets Spirituality, to tell the people that, okay, the two things are not mutually exclusive. They go together and one learns from the other. And you can see that that has actually changed the stress levels of various people, including many of my students who used to feel stressed. But then when they listen to some of these spiritual concepts, they would feel relaxed and then more motivated. So that actually encouraged me to continue on that line and put forth my ideas and thoughts in a form of a book, which can reach many more people. So that was the idea of doing this. And now I'm here. So with all of that, I continue to study as much as possible. I have some gurus. My uncles have been my gurus. And I also listen to online lectures by Dr. Vyasanakeri Prabhanjanacharya. So he is belong to the Akhil Bharata Madhva Mahamandala he's in Bangalore. He has audios on all granthas, Tika granthas of Tikacharya, Madhvacharya, and he has beautiful, beautiful audios and the books. We read the books and we listen to the audios, and that actually our education is continuing in that process. So this is how I keep myself abreast. And I also, in my family, my brother, my sister, we all do that. So that gives us a kind of a peace, so that is how I am there, and we continue to do as much as possible.
Excellent, sir. I think it is wonderful to know about your scientific journey, going together hand to hand, your spiritual and philosophical explorations. So it's excellent to know, and congratulations on your new book. That is the When Science Meets to Spirituality. It's a I have the book with me, and I just went through some portions of it. It's a wonderfully written book, and please accept my congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So my next question is coming to this book itself.
Yeah.
So, can you share more about this book? What are the central themes explored in the book? And as a scientist, what inspired you to explore the subject? And especially today, there is a lot of controversies or a lot of dichotomies prevalent, and a lot of friction also is there between science and religion, science and spirituality. So
Yeah.
the title is very interesting, where science meets, spirituality.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do share about some of the challenges or your experience while writing
Yeah.
the book, and what made you to take up this topic, and some of the themes
Yeah.
explored there.
Yeah. The book, as you have seen, is organized in 7 chapters. And I begin with, first of all, as a scientist, I have to put forward what does the scientist think. As a scientist, I must first tell you what do the scientists think, current scientists. As we mentioned, there is a kind of a dichotomy among the people, whether spirituality has any role to play in modern science. We have so much developed, and everything we can understand by science. So there is no need to think of spirituality, soul, God, etc. All that is not necessary. That sort of a concept many people have. But however, the people also don't realize that, okay, there are limitations. There are limitations in science. Everything cannot be answered by science. There are many, many things which are beyond the reach of science. These people have to understand. And that is why I, first of all, put forward the concepts in science which are there, how the creation happened, what the current people in scientific circles think about it. The Big Bang occurred, the Big Bang, then it started expanding, and it started with an infinitesimally small space. It was infinitesimally dense in energy, and then it started expanding. Then the small particles were formed, and from there it started cooling. When it started cooling, this becomes greater matter, and the matter came into galaxies, and then the stars, the planets, and there was a systematic development of the universe, the creation that happened. And there are planets which are going around with the particular kinds of laws, and there are physical laws which cannot be violated, which are not violated, and they continue to exist, and that is what brings a huge amount of order in the universe. And this order is unbelievable. That kind of an order which has been there for billions of years. That is, people said that Big Bang occurred 13.9 billion years ago, and subsequently things have been evolving. Initially, some particles were formed, which are called as quarks, and the quarks actually, again, there was interconversion between energy and particles. So this was the Einstein's theory of relativity, which says, okay, energy and matter are interconvertible. E is equal to mc square. That was the formula which he gave, and this actually was the basis for thinking that, okay, energy gets converted into particles, and the quarks were the very early ones to be formed. Then where these electrons and the protons and the neutrons and the matter, this started forming, and then the matter condensed to form big elements, and then it formed galaxies, the stars, the planets, etc. So therefore there are, and then of course they also had certain charges. The electrons had a charge, protons had a charge, neutrons did not have any charge. They also had what is called as the spin, and the spin is an important component of this. Now, this question, these are all fine as a working principles. However, there is so much of order in this. This order cannot come just like that. Say, for example, if you want to build a house, you need to have an engineering drawing. The engineering drawing has to be made by a person who is an expert in calculating all of those, the stabilities, the stress and the force, the weight, symmetry, all of these things one has to do. And the universe has so much of order which it does not change. The various physical laws, law of gravitation, for example. The law of gravitation, why the gravitation is always attractive, why there are positive charges repel each other, why positive and negative charges attract each other, what is the source of the infinite energy at the time of Big Bang, what was there before, who caused the Big Bang. So there is enormous amount of questions which are not answerable by science. So various kinds of evolutions are happening. However, all of these things are already described in our scriptures. We can see the Bhagavad Purana and the Rig Veda and all of these things there. These are already described there. And therefore, the knowledge is there, but it has been ignored. And people thought, okay, that has no meaning. But actually, now you come back and see, okay, no, there is so much of knowledge in there, it is validated by the modern observations. Therefore, the thinking that everything will be understood in due course only by this is futile. because it requires an intelligent being. The intelligence existed even before the human beings came into existence, because the stars were formed, planets were formed, the law of gravitation was there, positive negative charges attract each other, that law was there. How did the laws come into existence? And today people also think about multiverse. In physics, people think about the multiverse. There are multiple universes. This also has been talked about in our Puranas, Vedas. And see, this how this multiverse concept came in, and they are doing this for the sake of answering the question, what was there before the Big Bang? Now, they also say that the multiverse, the laws of physics can be different in different universes. And how can they be different? Who makes them different? There are various kinds of constants. There are gravitational constant, gas constant, permeability constant, which span over the universe. What are the values of this? Why are the values like that? So therefore, it is impossible for everybody for science to explain all aspects of science. This I have actually explained in greater detail in the second book, which is there. So there are various questions are there which cannot be answered by science, and clearly this has been recognized by the eminent scientists. Many eminent scientists have recognized this fact, that I cited lots of these scientists in this book itself. And these people like Albert Einstein, Max Planck, Erwin Schrödinger, okay, and so many of the more than 100 scientists have actually said there has to be a infinitely powerful, infinitely intelligent, super being, and that is, it cannot be denied. The order in the universe comes simply because from the material alone. Material cannot create laws. Intelligent being is required for the creation of the laws, and that is the example I gave you. You cannot build a house without an engineering drawing. It requires an intelligent order. So therefore, all of them acknowledge that. They all acknowledge. One of those scientists, he even says that it's only an idiot who can be an atheist. He goes to that level to say it's only an idiot who can be an atheist. So therefore, Supreme Commander has to be accepted. He is there. Now, how do we understand all of these things? That is the next question. That is the next question. For that, we come into the various kinds of philosophical texts, authentic scriptures, and we understand from there. The authentic scriptures, we understand the various things. Now, these are the points which have to be brought out. So those people who don't read this, they will not be able to understand this. They will be under the impression that everything is possible, no need for spirituality. But there's absolute nonsense, and it is not possible to understand everything. For example, I can tell you, we created in the laboratory, there was a goat was created. Okay, then various kinds of mobiles this and created. This requires an intelligence. Okay, now if you think everything is possible, can you create a man who will never die? Can you create a robot which will never die? Can you create a machine which will never fail? Can you create a human being which will have no diseases? Can you create a situation where there will be no accidents, no cyclones? So tragedies, if there is something which a train accident happens, 1,000 people die. Why do they die? What are their mistakes? If everything works according to your own thoughts, then why is it that these things are not possible? And no scientist will challenge these questions. The answer to this question is a clear no, and you have to accept that, okay, there is a spiritual being who is behind all of these things, and that is the Paramatma. So, and then your various daily experiences in life will prove that there is a thing called soul. All the emotions are experienced by the soul. The soul is the Atma. They are experienced by the Atma. And therefore, it is not the body. The body is not experiencing the emotions touch the Atma. A body is only an instrument for doing your actions and the karma. So that is, so this philosophy has been understood. All the eminent scientists have also understood this. It is only the half-baked thought process which actually creates this kind of a confusion. And to remove this sort of a confusion, I thought I will do this work.
So, what are some of the major themes you have discussed in
Yes. So as I said, the first chapter, first chapter gave the introduction to the various scientific accomplishments. Then I talk about the general observations which lead to the concepts of spirituality. So I already mentioned this with regard to the emotions. Suppose I cut my finger. So I say, I cut my finger. And we see, you cut, finger is the body. When I say I, who is this I? The I is your Atma. Atma is the one which is actually experiencing this emotion. So, and then as I said, some various people, we also hear of statements that I did this, I did that, but I didn't get the result. I didn't get the result. Again, who is this I? And why we didn't get the result? So, therefore, the concept of Atma brings in there. And then we say we are totally uncertain. We are totally uncertain with regard to the accident which was happening. As I said, a train accident happened, 1,000 people died. They didn't do any mistake. Why did it happen that way? So this we relate it to what is called as the Purva Janma Karma, and there is a Paramatma who is actually dictating your actions according to your karma. You get the phala according to your karma, which comes from Janma to Janma. So this was Purva Janma which is there, and therefore these concepts get established by your normal experiences in day-to-day life. Even without reading the scriptures, day-to-day life itself will tell you that okay, there are these two things, abstract entities which are present. And then there is a thing called dharma. Dharma is also ethical values, all these do's and don'ts. These are also seen which are required in your day-to-day life. So these are not material entities. These are principles. These are principles which have to be followed, and these are not material quantities that you can investigate experimentally. So these are the things which have to be understood as concepts, and these are what we call as achindriya. So these belong to that sort of feature, and therefore you have to accept these principles. Now to read more and more. So then I go into the, after establishing the concepts of spirituality, then I go and show more about it. There are people who we call them as prodigies. The prodigies, this comes in the 3rd chapter. The prodigies are those people who have extraordinary wisdom. Extraordinary wisdom, we cannot explain that. And like, for example, we have various mathematicians, the Shakuntala Devi, and our mathematician Ramanujam, Srinivas Ramanujam. These people, and then we also have this Rambhadracharya. So today, these are the people who actually have incredible abilities. See, Ramanujam, he used to say that every equation which he writes, he wrote lots of theorems. When he wrote lots of theorems, he said every theorem is an expression of the thought of the God. He said that equation doesn't mean anything unless it expresses the thought of God. So it used to come on his mind automatically, and he would write that. He would not even give the proof of that. People are still struggling to prove his theorems. He just wrote in a notebook, and all of them are still there. They are all struggling to. He only lived for 32 years. And within this period, he wrote so many theorems, and he acknowledged that, okay, these are the gifts which come from the God. And same is true with Rambhadracharya. Today, who is living? Rambhadracharya is still living. He is in, and he was blind from the age of 2 months. And by the age of 5, he had actually completely learned Ramcharitamanas, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Puran. So many things he has already learned. By the age of 7 or 8, he had complete sloka, adhyaya, everything, meaning, etc., everything he was able to say. How did this come? And this cannot come just by, nobody is training him because he is blind and doesn't know Braille. And he has written 150 books, and he created a university for the disabled. So all of these are God gifts. These are the divine powers which come. And we also see this in various our philosophical acharyas, starting from Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya. All of these people had terrific powers and enormous powers. And these ones, actually, they also lived only for a short period. Shankaracharya lived only for 32 years. Ramanujacharya lived for a little more than that. Padmashri lived for 79 years. And all of these people demonstrated supernatural powers, which cannot be thought about by any physical meaning. By any yardstick, you cannot understand that. And these are the principles of the divine powers. So therefore, this has to be understood that there is the divine power, which you actually talked about in the spirituality in the chapter 2. We directly demonstrate this by our experiences with various acharyas. And how did they get this power? They got this power by divine blessing. And this happens for various reasons. How did they get, and who gets these blessings? This is all something matter of more detail that is explained also in the book in the later chapter. Then I also go into the next, in the next chapter, I talked about the ancient wisdom our ancient wisdom was not only in spiritual concepts, but also in the material concepts as well. See, for example, the Ayurveda, which is part of the Atharva Veda, this talks about lots of medications, and it all talks about the holistic treatment of a body. Unlike the symptomatic treatment of allopathy, it talks about the holistic treatment, and it also talks about particular prakriti of an individual. This is different for every individual. This is determined at the time of conception, and that does not change for his entire life, for the body. This is similar to the DNA. We say the DNA of a body of a human being does not change. It is fixed at the time of conception. So therefore, the prakriti, the equivalent of that is DNA, what we are saying now. And the prakriti is further classified into three as Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. These three principles are called as doshas. These are the constituents which are determined. This varies from every individual to individual. Therefore, the treatment one has to give for every individual is dependent on his prakriti, which is different. Therefore, Ayurveda already talked about personalized medicine. And today in allopathy, we are talking about personalized medicine. One dress doesn't fit all. This is basically the concept of personalized medicine, and allopathy is now recognizing this. Sushruta had described 500 different surgeries in the Sushruta Sanhita. So therefore, and not today the plastic surgery is the thing which is adopted from there. Therefore, they had the material wisdom as well. Material wisdom, philosophical wisdom, they combined the two. They did not ignore. Ayurveda said body, mind, and consciousness work together. The concept of consciousness is always said. Patanjali said chitta vritti nirodha. So therefore, the dharma, what is samatvam kaya uchyate? That is what Krishna Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita. So you have to be a balanced person. Balanced person means you have to have control over your indriyas, control over these things. So they work together. All of these went together. Material values and also the philosophical, the spiritual values went together in our ancient wisdom. So that is the part of the fourth chapter, ancient wisdom, which I mentioned. Various kinds of medications, things like that. And then in the fifth chapter, I go further to describe in a little bit more detail all the philosophies, the three philosophies especially. The Vedanta philosophies, Advaita, Ramanuja, Vishishta Advaita, and Dvaita philosophies, and I have described them in some detail. Because there is still a lot more to learn and discuss about it. We did not go into the comparative of those ones, but they are all there. They are all there today, and they will continue to be there. And in fact, I said that this is actually the design of the Paramatma himself. The Sanatana Dharma is inclusive to all of those ones. Not only these, it also is inclusive to things like Bauddha Shastra. It is also inclusive to that. So, and these are variations. Sanatana Dharma is something which is eternal, which keeps, now and then aberrations keep coming, but actually then of course newer will come to the Sankhyas, the Vaisheshikas, Naiyayikas. All of these various people are emerging, but they are all there. Even today they are there. So therefore, all the kinds of philosophies are there, and we are inclusive to all of them. That brings in what we call as unity and diversity. In this Sanatana Dharma, we actually respect all the people. We respect everybody, and this because we believe that they are working at the behest of the Paramatma, and they are prompted by the Paramatma to think in a particular way, because Krishna Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita, ye yatha mam prapaddante tam tathaiva bhajamyaham mama vartmano vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. So he says that this is my design, this is my leela, and it is because of that we have all the various kinds of personalities, and we accept all of them. I want all of them to be happy, and therefore all of these Vedas talk about, in every mantra you say Om Shanti 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 Shanti. So the peace is ultimate point of our dharma. So this is described in all the Vedas. And then how to achieve peace? This is something which I described in the last chapter, the philosophy of life. What is it that we must learn? How to be peaceful? How to be peaceful is that, okay, you realize what your limitations are. First thing is to realize what your limitations are. And then you say how to get over these limitations. And in that process, there are certain concepts like you must be able to control your senses, control your anger, learn to forgive people. Remember that everybody is doing his karma according to his past karma, and therefore respect that. So nobody is beyond mistakes. learn to forgive and surrender everything to God, saying, okay, tell him thank you that, okay, I am doing this because you prompted me to do this, and it is up to you what I become, what I am, and you take me into the right path. And that is, when you do that, your ego will go away. Once ego goes away, then of course you're peaceful. You will not be disturbed. You will not be disturbed by anybody else's. Otherwise, if you think that somebody else is responsible for your misery, then you will continue to be with sorrow, sad only, because you are given charge of your happiness to somebody else. That is not possible. So therefore, you have to think that, okay, you are doing your karma. Whatever you are experiencing is because of your karma. So remember this, and you are uncertain, you have limited abilities, and therefore you have to say, and Madhvacharya said, Naham karta hari karta tat puja karma chakilam tathapi matkrita puja tat prasadat nahi anyatha. He is the doer, and therefore he is the prompter, and I simply go by that, and therefore my ego will go away. When you do that, ego will go away. You will not feel jealous, you will not feel greedy, and Tyag buddhi also has to come, and all of this results in what we call as Sthita Prajna. So when you become Sthita Prajna, Samadukhe Same Kritva Labha Labha Jaya Jayo. So you treat all of them as equal, then you become a Sthita Prajna, you become a balanced person, then you will not be disturbed by your success or failure or achievements. You will be on the ground level, and you will always be peaceful. So this is how I said, okay, in the last chapter, you be peaceful and don't be anxious for anything. You say that, okay, things will happen at the time it will happen. So that is the part of the last chapter. And finally, I gave some Shanti mantras in the end.
Excellent, sir. Excellent. I think the book is, though it's a very small booklet, it is very fairly comprehensive as
Yeah.
far as its treatment of the subject is.
Yeah.
And I want to pick some ideas that you have been discussing, and
Yeah.
I wanted to shed more light. One of the ideas you also
Yes.
mentioned,
Yeah.
how about the scientific view versus the Shastriya view. The
Yeah.
current, I want to focus on the contemporary situation,
Yeah.
especially in the contemporary education, in the schooling, college, or academy, everywhere. Uh, there is a elevation, a one-pointed elevation of science and scientific method and scientific temper or scientific
Yeah.
thinking as a universal paradigm of knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the direct results of this elevation is
Yeah.
the downgrading of the religion and religious practices
Yeah.
into the dustbins of superstition, you could say, because
Yeah.
the superstition term itself is quite negative. It's
Yeah.
quite derogatory because
Yeah.
thereby it reduces spiritual truths into
Yeah.
blind beliefs.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on this, and
Yes.
what is the way to resolve these knots of scientific facts versus religious
Yeah.
beliefs, or science versus superstition?
Okay. Yeah. No, very, very nice. And this is indeed, various people have this point of difficulties. This is basically a result of ignorance. Let me say that the scientific procedures and the methodologies in spiritual or philosophy are not different. They are the same. It is just that they have not seen it properly. That is, what are the methods epistemologically, which you say we have direct experimentation in science. You do experimentation, which you call as pratyaksha. Then you do inference, analyze your results, which you get the inference, we call as anumana. And then you have the published literature, which is called as the agama. These are the same three principles which are present in philosophical arguments also. Nobody is saying in philosophy also that you accept it just because I am saying. Even Krishna Bhagavan did not say this. You analyze it on the basis of the principles which are there. Pratyaksha, Anumana, Agama. These are the concepts which are there. Now, with regard to the material world, this Pratyaksha and Anumana are enough. You can do experiments on those ones. But there are some Atindriya things which are not reachable by direct experimentation because they are not material. And these ones cannot be understood. For example, the order in the universe, which is referred to in the order in the universe, it has to be inferred. And this intelligence being which is present there, this is the something which is present even before the human being came into existence. So these ones have to be understood from the agamas. And which are the agamas here? Here, these are the authentic scriptures. Now, with regard to the belief system, let's talk about the belief system. So when we say there is a particular statement made by some individual, whether it is validated or not, can it be validated or not, or it is falsifiable or not? This is the kind of thing people have. Now, every belief is truth until it is falsified. Okay, this is the concept, this is the faith, this is the faith in science, this is the faith in philosophy as well. So this is, now you take for example a think of quantum gravity. Quantum gravity talks about various kinds of objects. In this, how many people understand quantum gravity? There is no individual on this planet who understands everything about everything. I think your video is gone. There is no individual on this planet who understands everything about everything. Not even everything about something. Okay. So therefore, if you are an expert in, let us say, engineering, and if a medical person says something, you have to accept it. You go to a doctor, he recommends you something, you accept it. So that is a faith. So this belief is always there in every part of life, whether it is science or philosophy, spirituality, it is always there. And validation, if you cannot validate it, you call it as, you dub it as blind faith. So blind faith, if faith is blind, intrinsically faith is blind. But then when you validate it, then it's no more blind. So in the same way, there are various concepts in spirituality. Everybody cannot validate it. Okay. Now, for example, the Higgs boson cannot be validated by anybody else. You have to believe it. What the persons are saying, particle physicists are saying, Higgs boson is discovered. Okay, discovered. But he did not go and see it there. He did not do the experiment. So in the same way, if there is a capable individual who demonstrates the validity of the statement he makes, you have to accept it. Because everybody cannot understand that. Everybody cannot validate it. So you will have to have the faith in that person. He must be an established person by various other kinds of evidences, and then you will have to accept it. See, the same is true, for example, our philosophers. All these great philosophers, they demonstrated the validity of our Vedas, to an undisputable manner. Therefore, whatever is said in that one, there are instances, for example, Raghavendra Swami is one instance I will quote you. I'll say that in the book, but I will explain to you that. So there was one person who did not believe in the Vedas. He said, no, it's all humbug. All the acharyas are saying this, that, and all of that. It will not happen. Now, if you want to prove this validity of the Vedas, you have to demonstrate it. Acharya Raghavendra Swami said, okay, tell me what do you want me to do? So that person brought a dead wood, completely destroyed. It's like a dead wood. Okay. Now he said, you make me sprout this. Can you sprout this? So Raghavendra Swami said, okay, give me 1 week. So he actually took that to his ashrama and meditated and kept on doing the worshipping on Purushottama. Within 7 days, it started getting sprouts, and then it got leaves. Then it became a tree. Then that person became flat. Said, I'm sorry, I made a big mistake of testing you, and I completely agree with you. Even though the other persons are not able to do it, if somebody can demonstrate this, that can happen. That means an eligible person can only do that. Same thing was true with various other acharyas also. There is so there are so many stories like that. So I have listed lots of them in both with regard to the Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, and Madhvacharya. All the three of them I have shown they have demonstrated supernatural powers. Shankaracharya entered somebody else's body. How did he enter somebody else's body? Parakaya Pravesha. He left his body and went into some king's body. And then he actually went and argued with Mandana Mishra's wife to win the battle with her. Kama Shastras. Then he now that means that okay, Atma and body are different, number one, but their powers are enormous powers. And these are not coming by anybody's whims and fancies. It is by the divine power. See, it is because of that power they get this power. And once they have demonstrated this strength, you have to accept it. Everybody has to accept it. And there are some things which can be accepted by many people also. These are like, for example, the eclipses. The eclipses are happening. Everybody sees the eclipses. And our Vedas predict the eclipses to the accuracy of the seconds. How did that come? They did not have any telescopes. They did not have any telescope. They just saw the observations and they saw the Vedas, Veda mantras. And from that Veda mantras, they demonstrated. Today also we are experiencing this. And who are the people who write the Panchangams? They are not scientists. The Panchangams are written by people who actually have read the philosophical texts, their scriptures. And they are writing them and they are accurate. So therefore, you will have to accept the validity of the Vedas. And if you simply go in a biased manner, there is only your ignorance. You are only demonstrating your ignorance. You are not doing anything to invalidate the Vedas. The Vedas remain apaurushaya, they remain the swata pramanya, and they remain as they are. And this is absolutely undisputable. And therefore, this point has to be brought in. So I brought in this fact. I brought in these points in the book, in this book as well as in the next book. That is, so therefore, this concept of belief is something which is the concept of faith or the belief is common to both science and philosophy. It cannot be only in one. It cannot. There is nothing as blind faith. Blind faith means actually faith is blind by nature. So it only means temporary. So it means temporary truth. So that happens everywhere.
I think you made a very important observation about how the epistemological systems are, the pramanas are in both systems, and this is often not realized. But there is one difference I would say, perhaps is is the basis. I think you also mentioned this, that while the science, as we understand it, is about the empirical world, about the material world. Therefore, the scientific method involves about this empirical verification and falsification. The mistake, the problem that is arising, as I see it, is the application of the same method to even spirituality or even the dharma and moksha. That is that of empirical verification and falsification, which is not possible when it comes to dharma concepts such as what is dharma, what is adharma. All our dharma shastras tell about this is dharma, this leads to this karma phala, this leads to this punya phala, svarga, naraka, or even moksha and all.
Correct.
There, this empirical verification or falsification, both are not possible. So, from a scientific standpoint, they are not truth. They are neither true, they are not false, they are unverifiable. Therefore, they are not facts at all. They are simply beliefs. So, I think it is this application of one paradigm into other is what is creating problem. So, therefore, we need to bring in the Pramana Shastra in the Indic knowledge system. Veda as Swata Pramana.
Correct.
So, do you also think?
No, I completely agree with you. As I said, science has limitations. Science domain of reach is limited. And therefore, whereas our philosophical, spiritual domain is much wider. It covers both material world as well as the atindriya objects, which are beyond the material thing. And so you can do experiments only on the material world. Direct experimentation can only be done on the material world. But the existence of the non-material things cannot be denied. The existence of dharma cannot be denied. Okay, existence of soul, which you can experience it. Existence of Paramatma can be experienced, but you cannot do an experiment on that. Therefore, their existence cannot be denied. Therefore, the question is how to understand it. How to understand it further. To understand it further, these tools of protection and anumana will not work. And that has to be understood by something else, which is authentic in nature. And this authentic literature is what you call as the scriptures. These authentic scriptures have to be validated, are validated by these great individuals, the great acharyas. And everybody cannot validate. You cannot demand that I also want to validate it. No, you're not capable. You're not capable. Only the capable people can do it. And once the capable people demonstrate it, its validity is established. And therefore, you have to accept it. As I said, for example, the Higgs boson is observed by somebody in CERN. You will accept it. You have not done that, but you accept it. So in the same manner, the validity of the scriptures has been demonstrated by capable people, so you will have to accept it. And once that is there, then you will find the description about the dharma, moksha, all of those things you will find it there within Ishadas, do's and don'ts, all of these things you will find in the Vedas. And everything is, since it is Swata Pramana or Apaurushaya, it has to be Pramana by itself completely. You have to accept everything that is present there. And therefore, you cannot challenge that. And whatever is the knowledge in there, you have to learn from there and improve your science. Learn from there and improve your science. So the multiverse, for example, has been demonstrated already in Bhagavad Puran. And you are talking about it now. And therefore, learn from there. Learn from there and improve your science. Get ideas. And even Abdul Salam, who got the Nobel Prize in Physics, actually came to a Vedic Pandit in Calcutta from whom he learned philosophy. Oppenheimer believed in Bhagavad Gita. He got inspiration from Bhagavad Gita. Erwin Schrödinger got inspiration from the Vedas. He actually mentions that in the book. I mentioned this. In that book for the Nobel laureates, Erwin Schrödinger, who is the originator of quantum mechanics, he says he's got inspiration from the Vedas. And Einstein says, the more I do science, the more I believe in God. The more I do science, people like Einstein, the more I do science, the more I believe in God. And Mulliken says that science is spirituality is absolute truth. God is absolute truth. Cannot be denied. So all those Nobel laureates who are there, they are the enlightened people. And therefore, the people who are questioning these scientific approaches, not validating this, they are only mediocres. And it is just that they don't have the proper knowledge. Or the proper knowledge of what is the limitation of science, what are the reach, where science can reach. And therefore, this has to be brought out clearly. So therefore, I put both these things together. That's why I said both these things together, you have to show the highlights of science. No question that science has achieved impossible things, great things. Yes, indeed. This television, the mobiles and things like that, great discovery is made. Yes, but still it has limitations. As I pointed out, that what is the source of the energy at the Big Bang? How was it quantified at a small place? What were the physical laws then? Why did the physical laws change? Who caused the Big Bang? Why are the laws as they are? So, can you create a person who cannot die? So all of these questions cannot be answered by science, no matter how much you make progress. No matter how much you make progress in science, you cannot answer these questions. So these questions have to be answered from authentic scriptures only. That leads to what we call as the karma, moksha. It leads to all of those ones. So what is stated there, you'll have to accept it.
Wonderful, sir. I think the point you made about great people validating authentic sources, this reminded me how when Shankaracharya wrote the Prasthanatra Bhashya, all other acharyas followed in that same line, and they also wrote their own Bhashya on the same Brahma Sutra Upanishad Gita. Shankaracharya, in a sense, was validating the authenticity of these texts in some sense, if you look at from now. And similarly, in one place, Shankaracharya says, Manu and Vyasa are both Shishtas, that is, they are both Aptas, they are both authentic source of knowledge. So there's a clear statement of validating Manusmriti and Mahabharata as authentic source there. So your statement is very, very true, that great people, Mahan people have already validated authentic sources for us.
Yes.
So we just need to study them, understand them, derive knowledge from them, and apply it to our own life, apply it to our own problems. So instead of doing this, we are all like a blind leading the blind, and
correct.
stuck here.
Very no, I agree with you. So that is the thing. So intrinsically, the great acharyas have validated our scriptures. So we have to go by that. We have to accept that. We have to accept that and go by whatever is their guideline, what they tell us to do. We have to follow that. And so there are people who are following all the acharyas. As I said, even Buddhas are also there. Buddhas may have different philosophy. They have different understanding. That is okay. And we have the Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, and the lineages which are all there, and all of them also have written bhashyas on Brahma Sutras. Actually, there is 22 bhashyas are there on Brahma Sutras. So, and there are small differences here and there, but it doesn't matter. So the ideas of concepts, the concepts which are given there, these validate the importance of the Brahma Sutras, analysis of the Brahma Sutras, and then you have to take it forward from there and live your life as prescribed by your gurus. And that actually gives you happiness. Okay. So once you follow your path, which is prescribed to you by your guru, that gives you the peace, that gives you the happiness. All of them can live together in harmony in a peaceful manner. So, and that is the fundamental principle of Sanatana Dharma. So we have the unity in diversity, live and let live, okay, and global peace. All of these are there, which are required, and they will continue to be there. Continue to be there.
Indeed, indeed. So one idea you brought up the notion of consciousness, I think 3 or 4 times during our discussion.
Yeah.
And this is the notion of Chaitanya as distinct from Jada Vastu.
Yeah.
These are all very important insights of especially Hindu civilization, I would say, and Sanatana Dharma.
Yeah.
And you brought it very logically that if we analyze how this, even from a scientific perspective, all these things are having, there needs to be somebody who did the engineering design, right?
Yes, yes.
Nevertheless, in the contemporary, at least a significantly prevalent view in modern regarding consciousness is that it is merely a product of biological or chemical processes in the human brain. So consciousness is a product of some Jada activities, so to put it that way. So how can, as long as the modern science holds on to this view, can science be really meet the spirituality? So
Yes.
what are your thoughts?
No, absolutely. Very good question. Very intriguing. See, as I said, intelligence is what is required for the design. The laws are made by the intelligent person. Intelligence is an attribute of consciousness. Intelligence goes with consciousness. Okay, now intelligence existed even before the human being was born. Human being came into existence, intelligence was there. Therefore, at that time, there was no chemical reaction. The intelligence was there during the process of creation itself. Okay. Now, this intelligence created the laws. The whatever biological processes are happening inside your brain, the chemical reactions which are happening in your brain, they are following the physical laws. So the physical laws were created by an intelligent species, which is an intelligent species in the consciousness. And therefore, these chemical reactions are the product of consciousness, and not that the consciousness is the product of chemical processes. Intelligent being is pre-existing. Intelligence is pre-existing. You made the laws. As I said, the positive, negative reaction, positive, negative charges attract each other. Okay, and positive charges repel each other. There is thermodynamically, there is an entropy. Entropy is increasing disorder. Laws of thermodynamics, chemical thermodynamics. These laws were made by the intelligent being. An intelligent being, because of the laws, the processes are going as they are going. Because of those laws, they are going as they are going. Okay. Therefore, the consciousness being intelligence being an attribute of the consciousness, it existed before, which created the laws, and the biological processes are happening as a consequence of these laws, and therefore the consciousness cannot be the product of these biological processes. These biological processes are the product of consciousness. Is the reverse. And therefore that distinction has to be made clear, that because intelligence existed even before as the creation itself. As I said, human beings came into existence when development happens. Every individual is different. In every individual, ultimately the processes are different, because that is why I said every individual is different and every consciousness is different. That's why. So therefore they have different processes happening, and the processes are a consequence of consciousness and not the other way around.
The last question regarding your next book, After Science Meets Spirituality. I think it's already, you have completed the book. It's with the publisher, if I'm not mistaken. Tell us about the book.
Yeah. Okay. Now, initially, I wrote this book with the title Tena Vina Trinamapi Na Chalati. Okay. That is the theme. That still remains the theme. Tena Vina Trinamapi Na Chalati means without him, even a blade of grass cannot move. Okay. Where does this appear? This actually implicates the existence of a supreme commander who controls everything. That is the theme of, that is the meaning of that statement. However, many people may not understand this title very much. In Sanskrit title, they may not understand it. And this title comes as a result of various kinds of stories in Puranas. One of the stories in Purana where it comes from is in Talokar Upanishad, Kenopanishad. Okay, same, both are the same. And that is when the all these devatas have won a war, they become very arrogant. And they think that, okay, they are the ones who are responsible and they have the power, they have the energy, and they won the war because of their own strength. Now, the Vishnu wanted to disprove that. They wanted to show their limitations. They want to show where they are. So he became in the form of a yaksha. He came as a yaksha to where these devatas were there. So Agni came to him. Agni came to him and yaksha asked him, who are you? What is your power? And Agni said, okay, I can burn anything. I can burn anything. So then the yaksha put a blade of grass in front of him and said, you please burn this. He was not able to burn it. So he went back. Then Vayu came, same question. He said, I can fly and blow away anything. So he said, okay, you blow away this blade of grass. He cannot blow the blade of grass. So therefore he also went away. Then he realized, all of them realized that it is the Vishnu's power which is actually giving us the strength. And we are not completely independent. And that's why I changed the title of this book to say, when fire failed to burn even a single blade of grass. So below that I put also this Tena Vina Trinamapina Chalati. That also I put. And after that I put in a lot of stories from the Puranas. Various Puranas in Mahabhagavat Puran and Bhasmasura story I put. Prahlad story I have put. Okay. And Draupadi story I have put. And then I also said this implicates the Supreme Commander, presence of Supreme Commander implicates that he can achieve anything. First of all, I demonstrated by various authentic statements about the supremacy of the Vishnu, which are stated in various Puranas, Padma Purana, Bhagavat Purana, and various places it is stated, and also in the Vedas. After that, I showed them that God protects everybody who is his bhakta. That is what Krishna says in Name Bhakta Pranashyati. He says in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says Name Bhakta Pranashyati. So he protects all his bhaktas. Prahlada is one example. Dhruva is another example. Jadabharata is another example. Draupadi is one example. There are so many examples. I put in all of those stories. Then I also put the stories. If there is somebody who is hating Vishnu, then he will also be destroyed. Then I put in the story of Hiranyakashipu. Okay, so Hiranyakashipu's story was that Shishupala. Shishupala is there in this one in Mahabharata. So this kind of stories I put in there to convince that, okay, these stories are itihasa. These are not fictions. These are itihasa. The itihasas actually demonstrate that the supreme power, if you go against him, he will destroy you. He protects the dharma and he destroys the adharma. Not only that, he knows how to bring people on track. If he creates a situation to bring people on track, those who have gone on wrong track, I also put the story of Shabari. So Shabari is she is Bhakta, one of the greatest Bhakta. He protects her. So some others have discarded her, and Rama goes and saves her. So, and there are so many other stories like that. I put in all of those stories and said he is there to protect his bhaktas, and he will also destroy who are those who are not who are his enemies. And then I also said, depending upon the person, the jivana yogyata which is there, he will also drive people in the right direction. There are stories of Purandaradasa. Purandaradasa is one example. There is Pundalika, another example. Pundalika, how they have gone off track, and then he created situations to bring them back on track. He creates situations, make them do certain things, and finally he gives them the result. the rewards as they should be, and then they will come back to the right track. So as I said, therefore there is a train, he is the engine driver. We are all sitting in the compartments and he drives the engine in the right manner. And he stops at the right places to take people and put off people and things like that. So this is a simple analogy. And then as a result of this realization, so many institutions are coming to existence. I mean, I also quoted examples of Tulsidas, Surdas, okay, and Jnaneshwar, Sant Jnaneshwar. All these stories also I have quoted there as to how he will protect people who are his bhaktas. And the various institutions which have come, Brahma Kumaris has come, okay, ISKCON has come, and all of these are aiming for what? They are aiming for global peace. Fundamentally, they may have some different kinds of ideas, but that doesn't matter. But so far as this life is concerned, they are working towards global peace, and this is at the behest of the Paramatma. He is actually driving people to work in a particular manner so that they bring peace to the society. So that is what is also called Sanatana Dharma's unity in diversity. He brings in all of these things. So these are the themes in that. That is a much larger book. Actually, will go into 250 pages according to Aman. So this one is 170 pages, but that will go into 250 pages. This has 10 chapters in that one, and soon that will also come out. So this is the basic. They are like the corollaries. Supremacy of the Vishnu is one thing, then the corollaries follow. From the corollaries are the destruction of the enemies, protection of the bhaktas, creation of institutions, and bringing people right on track. All of these things are part of the corollaries, so which will emphasize on the role of the role of Paramatma in this world. Is creation. Is the creation is with this kind of an intention. Srishti Sthiti Laya, all of these things are part of his activities, and therefore that is the theme of that book. And that should come out in about a few months' time.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. I look forward to that book also personally. Very interesting topic. And the whole conversation has been very interesting, very enlightening conversation. And I'm sure all of our audience will deeply learn from this. And there's a lot of material to reflect upon it, and a lot of myth busting, I would say, as far as this science versus spirituality, or scientific, or the way that today the scientific method is being used to denounce religion, religious systems. So you touched upon all these very important points. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks for entertaining me. Thanks for calling for your Indica Moksha. It's a wonderful platform. I know you are creating a lot of these sessions, and it's a great job, great service to mankind you are doing. And let us pray for the best of everybody. That is good health.
Thank you. Thank you very
So
much.
let me close by one prayer to.
Go ahead.
Narayanaaya Paripurna Gunarnavaya Vishvodaya Sthitalayo Nitipradaya Jnanapradaya Vibhadasa Rasotya Dukha Satkaranaya Vitataya Namo Namaste Pujjaya Raghavendraya Satya Dharmarataya Cha Bhajatam Kalpa Vrikshaya Namatam Kamadhenuve Apadamoli Paryantam Gurunam Akritim Smarit Tena Vigna Pranashyanti Siddhyanti Cha Manoratha Durvadidvantare Vishnavindi Varendave Sri Raghavendra Guruve Namo Atyanta Dayalave Namaskarunya Sindhuve.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Viewers, I request everyone to buy sir's book, When Science Meets Spirituality. It is published by Saptarshi publication. I think it will be available everywhere, Amazon and every other places. Do check it out. And we will be doing more events like this. Do follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Again, thank you, sir, for making time for this session. With this, we conclude the session. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu.
Thank you, sir.